Imagine you're on a flight, tired, frustrated, and a baby starts wailing nonstop. Most people would roll their eyes, right? But one woman chose compassion. She reached out, held a stranger's baby, and sang a lullaby, not knowing the grieving father beside her was a billionaire widower with a broken heart, and that this moment would change both their lives forever. Before we dive in, if you believe kindness can still change the world, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Hopeful Stories, where true heart-touching tales come to life every week. Claire hated flying, especially after long hospital shifts. As a pediatric nurse, she was used to crying children, but not when she was off-duty, exhausted, and wedged in the middle seat of a crowded plane. She sank into her seat, closed her eyes, and just as she drifted toward sleep, it began. A sharp, high-pitched cry, then another. She peeked to her right and saw a baby, red-faced, arms flailing, tears streaming. The man holding him looked panicked, lost. His eyes darted around as passengers began shifting uncomfortably, sighing in irritation. He bounced the baby awkwardly, whispered something in his ear, but the cries only grew louder. Claire glanced again. The man was young, early 30s maybe, dressed well but disheveled. His shirt was half untucked, hair messy like he'd been running on empty for days. The baby, probably 10 months old, kept screaming, his tiny fists pounding the air. Claire leaned over. "Do you want me to try?" she asked softly. The man blinked at her as if unsure whether to be offended or relieved. "Honestly, I'd really appreciate it," she extended her arms. The baby hesitated, then nestled into her chest like he somehow knew she was safe. She rocked gently, began humming an old lullaby her mother used to sing to her as a child. "Hush, little baby. Don't say a word." Within minutes, the baby quieted. His breathing slowed, and then he slept. The cabin breathed a collective sigh of relief. Claire handed the baby back, smiling. The man stared at her like she'd just performed a miracle. "You're really good with kids," he said, his voice hoarse. "I'm a pediatric nurse," she replied. "Comes with the job." He looked down at his son, then back at her. "I'm James," he said. "And this is Oliver," she nodded. "Claire, nice to meet you both." They didn't talk much after that. Claire returned to her book, James to his thoughts. But throughout the flight, she noticed his eyes drifting to her, watching how gently she treated people. Noticing, maybe, what he hadn't felt in a long time, comfort, safety, something warm he thought he'd lost forever. When the plane landed, they exchanged goodbyes. No numbers, no promises, just a nod. A thank you. Claire walked off, thinking it was just another act of kindness. She had no idea her life was about to change. 3 weeks later, Claire was in the hospital cafeteria scrolling through job listings. She loved her work, but lately the hours had been brutal and the emotional toll was getting heavy. She sighed, took a sip of coffee, and checked her voicemail. One message. "Hi, Claire. I doubt you remember me, James from the plane. You helped with Oliver. I've been thinking about that moment a lot. Listen, I don't know if this is crazy, but I'd really like to talk. There's something I want to ask you." Her heart skipped. She called back that night. Over the next few weeks, they talked more. Dinners followed. Playdates with Oliver. Slowly, she learned his story. James Callahan was a tech billionaire. His wife, Emily, had died in childbirth. Since then, he'd withdrawn from the world, raising Oliver mostly alone, with help from nannies, but no real connection. That moment on the plane had stirred something. The way Claire held Oliver, the calm in her voice, the kindness with no agenda. He said he hadn't felt peace like that in 2 years. She didn't care about the money, and he loved that. They took things slow. Coffee became dinners. Dinners became family outings. Claire taught Oliver to walk. James laughed again. The walls came down, one layer at a time. A year later, in a small garden under a weeping willow, James proposed. Oliver handed Claire the ring. She said yes through tears, and there, with a baby in her arms and a man who finally knew how to love again, Claire realized something. One act of kindness can echo forever. If this story touched your heart, like this video and subscribe to Hopeful Stories for more true, uplifting moments like this one. Because the smallest act of kindness can change someone's world. See you next time. Let me know if you'd like this adapted to a voiceover script with speaker cues or formatted for teleprompter-style delivery.